Thank you for tuning in to episode 83 of the MTB Podcast, presented and hosted by Worldwide Cyclery. I am Jeff.
I'm Liam.
I'm Jared. I like cookies.
In this episode of the podcast, we're going to give a quick take on our favorite recent mountain bike rides. We're going to go into drivetrain tier comparisons. What the heck is the difference between SLX, XT, XTR, etc.? Handlebars, materials, rise, sweep, width, Commencal Care Program. We're actually going to hear from a guest, Micah Rice, who is one of the race organizers of the Pikes Peak Apex race. What else does he do?
He helps organize other races in the Colorado Springs area.
Yeah, he knows a lot about
other races.
We're going to hear from him on the current state of mountain bike racing given the pandemic, and actually some quick tips from him on how to start a mountain bike race or event yourself if you're so interested in something like that. And we're going to answer some listener questions around mixing drivetrain brand components and also preferred geometry for former BMX riders.
Whew.
That's a lot of stuff.
Oh, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
We're getting into this.
We're getting into this. DJ Pineapple, play a sound effect.
All right, favorite rides.
Wow.
Favorite rides. Liam, what's your most recent favorite ride?
Most recently, I've been getting on the curly bar bike, which is gravel bike.
What does that mean?
Yeah, gravel bike, drop bar, handlebars, all-road bike, whatever you want to call it, really. I just call it the curly bar bike. It's for going longer distance. A couple buddies, some shop friends. We want to do a Santa Barbara front country and back country ride where we started on the front country, climbed up and over the mountain, descended the back side, traversed the back country, and then went back up and over to the front side where we started. We pretty much ended up doing 55 miles with 8,000 feet of climbing on gravel bikes. Most of it was on like mountain bike trails. And yeah, it was pretty brutal. I haven't gone that deep in a while. The descending, I've really found out that descending on drop bars and dirt is not my preferred method of descending.
Yeah, that's tough. Gravel bike, you can do these longer rides, but then you also want to ride single track, and then your just head is rattling around.
Well, yeah, we weren't on single track descending because, that's where I draw the line. But it was still like a pretty rough fire road.
Oh, yeah.
So, and like your back hurts in ways your back has never hurt before.
You probably whole body. Like you get off and you're just like.
But yeah, hitting that 8K of climbing is, I haven't done that in probably over a year, so in one ride. That was pretty heavy.
I'm tired just thinking about it,
Yeah, it
honestly.
feels good. I like doing that.
Wow.
Yeah. What about you, Jeff? You riding bikes?
Yeah, my recent most memorable one. So I'm currently training for this multi-sport adventure race where you do a bunch of mountain biking, kayaking, and trail running. So I put in a 50-mile ride back-to-back with a 20-mile trail run. The 50 miles I did on what I call a gravel bike, which doesn't have curly bars. It's got flat bars because I could just not ever ride curly bars. So I did 50 miles on that bike. That was just over 4,000 feet of climbing in that 50 miles. And then I went straight into a 20-mile trail run, which also had just over 4,000 feet of elevation. And yeah, it took me 11 hours and 19 minutes. It was a long one.
Elapsed time or moving time?
That's moving time.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. It was a total of 71.32 miles. That was a good one. I've been trying to just do these like really long ones because I'm realizing that when you go over 6 hours, then it like really like nutrition is a really big deal. Like you're just going to get depleted on electrolytes and all these other various things and have problems. So that was a good like memorable fun one that I did recently, which was 50-mile bike ride right into a 20-mile trail run. It's good fun.
Wow. That 6 hour mark is really where you can't rely on like stupidity and fitness.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to plan. You got to build that fitness. You have to eat properly. The 6 hour mark kind of where I call the my limit on a bike. After that, I'm not getting paid for this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you carry that much like water and food with you? You're stopping and
You can't.
refilling at certain places.
Yeah, I had a one of those filters. So Be Free is that company that makes that filter that you can like fill up in various fresh water sources or a hose or whatever, and then just like filter the water through. So I was doing that, and then I did kind of a home base, right? So I went out from home, did the 50 miles, back to home, ate some food, got some water, changed into my trail running kit, and then went out and did the trail run, and then went back. But yeah, I did have a little panic attack about running out of water, and then happened to find one of those little like water spigots down in Sycamore Canyon where I was running, and I was really grateful for that.
Nice.
Starting to hallucinate a little bit towards the end of that thing, and I mean, it started at 9 a.m. and I didn't get home until like 10:30 because that was like the total time with like the one little small break in the middle. So
Wow.
yeah, I was out all day. It was an all-dayer.
Wow.
It was fun though. What about you?
Well,
what do you got going,
yeah,
Jared?
you guys are doing a great job of making me look bad. So yeah, I've just been cruising around Sycamore Canyon. I really like it right there because I live right next to it. So yeah, just been putting loops together in there. And
Yeah, Sycamore
just really
Canyon,
nice.
for those that don't know, is because there's probably a lot of Sycamore Canyons. I feel like
there
that's
is.
like a
Probably.
Springfield. Like every state has one.
right.
That's on the backside of the Santa Monica Mountains, which is about 35 to 40 miles northwest of LA, Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's actually technically Point Magoo State Park as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
So yeah, good fun. So you just been doing loops in there?
Yeah.
The huge?
Yeah, the huge. Just really like riding in there. It's super relaxing, especially, after work or, long week, and just, there's not a lot of people that go in there on the bike trails. So when the chill times, it's a very nice place to go.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful place.
It really is.
I like it there.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, let's jump right into drivetrain tier comparisons. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
So this is a question that I think we've gotten forever, and then we have two videos that are within the top 5 of our most viewed YouTube videos ever. One of them is a Shimano comparison, and the other video is a SRAM comparison. And in each one of those videos, we dissect what is the difference between, for example, Shimano, right? It's Dior, SLX, XT, XTR. SRAM, it is SX, NX, GX, X01, XX1. Did I miss anything?
No, you got that
I
correct.
think you got it, yeah.
I'm impressed, actually.
And so those videos are accompanied by these very in-depth articles that who made those? Did you make most of those, Liam? And
I think I've wrote all
a lot
those.
of people work on all those articles and comes to the photos and everything. But
Yeah.
those videos are accompanied by these in-depth articles where we just discuss, because it is confusing, right? When you're even relatively new or even intermediate, right? Like you're just in the sport, like you don't really know what the difference is.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like, oh, what's the difference? And you look at it, it's like, oh, it still has the same amount of gears. Like, what is the difference?
It's more expensive and it's lighter, duh.
Well, that's right. You know it's more expensive. That's an obvious one. And it has, but like a lot of the other specs are the same. It's
But
like,
what are you getting for your money?
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Why
What are
is
the
this more
intricate
expensive?
details? What are the main differences?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people know at this point that weight is something that happens when you spend more, but that's also, if you think about it, in the last few years, not so true. Like people have stopped caring about weight as much, especially with e-bikes, especially with like just enduro riding in general being more popular, and XC not like leading the pack in terms of popularity. People don't care about weight as much.
People not including you.
Okay, I am a bit of a weight weenie. That is true.
Yeah, I have 2 bikes, one I care about weight on and one I don't.
Exactly, right?
It is still generally true. The higher the drivetrain level, the lighter it is.
Yep.
But there's also a point, I think, kind of around the XT or the XO mark for SRAM or Shimano, that you start losing durability as you get nicer, and that durability loss comes into like weight loss.
Yeah.
So the highest end might not necessarily be the most durable, but it's the lightest. So then there's that line of what type of riding you're doing.
Well, so SRAM likes to say that their XO1 is geared towards trail and enduro.
Correct.
And XX1 is geared towards cross country.
Yes.
Right? So like one is lighter, XX1 is lighter, and it's really not much more expensive. It's like barely more.
Well,
and oftentimes the same, depending on the part you're talking about.
That's kind of, they put them as the same level. If you look on a graph, they're the same level, but one's, like you said, for enduro trail, and the other one's for XC light trail.
Yeah, like in terms of shifting performance, they're going to be pretty similar, like almost exactly.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that is the other thing, right? Because people have a lot of questions here, right? That we don't, because we're we've been living in this world for too long, but people wonder things like, well, does GX not shift as good as XX1? Not at all. Like, I mean, stuff has been shifting if it's properly adjusted. I mean, I had a Shimano Alivio 8-speed 3x8 drivetrain on one of my first mountain bikes 15 years ago, and it shifted flawlessly. Like, it was great. You know, and like all this stuff shifts good. You know, it doesn't matter what tier you're at now, it all shifts flawlessly. Granted, it's adjusted correctly. Weight, of course, yeah, you're going to get some lighter stuff. But then you can ask the question, is like, well, why is it lighter? You know, and then it comes to materials. And that also plays into like how it feels, right? So like, and how it sounds, and the construction of the cassette and the materials that the cassette's made out of, and even like the shifter lever and the cranks. Like, that's stuff that feels different. Like, and do you think people notice that when they hop on that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
how
mean,
it feels.
Totally.
It's definitely prominent on going from like a GX or NX shifter to an XO or XX1 shifter for SRAM.
Yeah.
It's like a tactile difference of like the flex in the lever blade.
Yep.
And then
shifter. I think same is true for Shimano. XTR, I believe XT gets some rubber pads on your shifters that feel a little nicer, and then DR and SLX kind of are a little bit more plastic and stuff. So there's a feel differences there, but they all shift very well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's not even a topic in this. Like, they all shift perfect as long as they're adjusted accordingly. Yeah. And weight is a thing. Tactile feel, so like fit and finish, you could say. We actually, in that SRAM video, I did like a blindfold test, which was kind of funny to do, and can't really be perfect, right? But and that's what I wonder. I wonder if we could get, 100 people, so we had a bigger data set, and everyone was blindfolded, and they hopped on and rode the same bike, but with a different drivetrain in a straight line and just shifted. I think people could tell. Like, you can just, I mean, the sound the chain makes as it like moves from cog to cog.
Oh, yeah. And the shifter makes too.
Yeah, the sound. You're right. The sound the shifter makes. Yeah.
Like, you pretty much, if I recall correctly, you pretty much nailed them, right?
Oh, like immediately.
You got them all right.
Like,
you just feel the shifter, you know exactly what it is.
And you have to ride it. Like, you just push on the thumb blade and just, I can tell what that is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing between all the tiers for both brands would be durability. And I think, or maybe longevity is a better word.
Yeah.
I think longevity, you ride that NX at the GX level for SRAM, or the same with Dior and SLX. It might start maybe deteriorating performance after a really good season or 2 seasons of riding, and you might start needing to tweak it more, and it might kind of lose its precise feel. Where I think those higher end, and especially I like land on XT for this, and XO1 is the like longevity model. Like, those two drivetrains last a really long time, and like you can move them from bike to bike to bike.
Right.
So I think that's something as well that you're paying for is better materials that do actually last longer.
Yeah. I think one of the most common questions I get from people, like when they're upgrading, or they're, they have like a NX or GX and they're thinking about getting like XO1 or XX1, and they're asking like, if I get that cassette or chain, is it going to actually last me longer than my GX or NX?
Well, cassette and chain, I think, are maybe different on longevity than derailleur and shifter.
Right.
Because cassette and chain are wearable items no matter what. Where cassette and shifter, derailleur and shifter kind of aren't necessarily wearable items.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, would you say if I got an XX1 chain, hypothetically, would it last longer than a GX or NX chain?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It'd be lighter.
Yeah, it'll be lighter, right?
Nice.
Maybe like a slight difference in shifting performance.
And then I think cassettes actually, because GX, not positive. I believe it's steel material versus the XO and XX are alloy. So in theory, the steel would last longer than alloy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that is a tough question, because I don't think any of them are really that significantly different.
Yeah.
Like, one of them is not going to outlast the other by like 50%. Like, maybe 10%, maybe. This still seems like a lot. Like, it's just so close that it's hard to really say one's like going to last longer than the other.
There's so many variables to put into a cassette and chain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of what lube you use, where you live, how often you clean it,
dust versus mud,
how
everything.
big you are.
Totally.
Yeah.
Jared weighs 30 pounds more than Jeff and I, so over time, he's going to wear out that drivetrain parts faster than Jeff and I will.
True.
Yeah.
Just from his weight and his watts that he's putting out to propel himself.
True.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those 2 articles and videos we actually broke out, which was an extensive amount of time. So thank you to everyone here that made these. I didn't, but they really added a lot to the video. In these charts, basically lay out all of the different group sets, each individual component and its price and weight, right? So you have your price and your cranks, cassette, derailleur, shifter, chain, and the total. And you can look at this big chart and see like, oh, how much more does NX cost versus X01? How much more does it weigh? You can see all this stuff very like vividly in these charts, which are in the articles and the videos. And it does, like, it goes back to those things. The one thing we haven't talked about, right? So we've talked a lot about weight, longevity, durability, features, right? Features are pretty much the same on all of these things, but not exactly. There is some feature differences. Like, for example, you know, X01 and XX1, they have that you can adjust the actual like static position of the thumb lever, right? You can adjust that, whereas you can't do that, which I've never adjusted that. Like the static position they give you is I've like never. Like, have you done that?
I have. Actually, I think I have, but the one I have done it on is like on my dropper lever on the P&W loam.
Yeah,
you can adjust that kind of exactly static position.
Well, so you have it on a shifter though.
No.
Yeah, that is a feature that I don't think a lot of people even know they have on their bike, and I don't know anyone who even uses it.
The only time I have was I think 2 times ever, both for female riders that were like 5 foot with small hands.
Oh, there you go.
And that makes sense. And I got their 2 shifters a little closer, so they didn't have to reach as far.
Yeah,
yeah, that helps.
Yeah. That's the only time.
So there is a use case for it, but it's kind of a rare. I mean, that's like really the only feature difference between all of this SRAM stuff.
Yeah, all the SRAM stuff, pretty much. Yeah, just that, and then I guess cassettes. Not really a feature though. It's just material.
It's just materials and like how it's pieced together.
The NX shifter is not matchmaker compatible.
Oh yeah, that's
no. There is. There's one that is and one that isn't.
Okay.
OEM and
there was like an OE one and a non-OE one.
I thought that they all had the clamp on them. I believe the regular just clamp only.
Yeah, I believe there's a matchmaker version out there.
Yeah, sometimes it might be SX that has that issue now. Sometimes you see like the more pricey stuff has just got more like availability too. Like it's because people are obviously upgrading more to X01, XX1, even GX than they would be to NX. You know,
so, and then the Shimano shifters also have a feature difference.
They do,
too.
Yeah. So we were talking about that pre-podcast, right? It's the double downshift, right?
Yes, double downshift. So
the
shifting
lever that
to a
shifts
harder
down,
gear.
Yeah, exactly.
On XT and XTR, you can press it basically through the first click into the second with one motion and get that two gear downshift or shift 2 gears harder.
Yeah, 2 gears with 1 push of the thumb.
Right.
Yeah, which is actually a really cool feature.
It is cool.
Yeah,
like
it is.
When I use a Shimano shifter, I'm like, that's actually a rad feature.
Where SLX and Dior do not have that. They have single clicks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the down, not the up.
For the down.
Yeah. The easier gear, they all have the same. I think it's 3 or 4 per. Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of it on features though, really.
Yeah, Shimano had a couple little clutch things. So like adjustability of the clutch, which is a patent Shimano has, which is why SRAM doesn't have that. But yeah, you can adjust the clutch more easily, like a tool-free sort of adjustment on the pricier stuff on Shimano, and it's like more complicated. You have to take off like the cover to do it on the less expensive stuff. So little things. Like it's pretty negligible. I mean, realistically, all of these drivetrains from SRAM or Shimano at any price tier are going to shift amazing. They're going to be lighter. They're going to look fancier. And they're going to have a way better tactile feel and sound as you spend more money. And they might have a feature or 2 if you're lucky. So if you're really considering a drivetrain upgrade and curious on, you know, all of this stuff, those 2 articles and videos that we made definitely are a good go-to source for that thing. And something we just wanted to talk about because it was a popular topic, and those 2 videos did super well for us on YouTube. So clearly people are interested in this topic.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Hey, this is Norman from SRAM and 14-speed drivetrains, live on Kickstarter right now and appearing on Shark Tank March 12th. We are developing the world's first 14-speed drivetrain that's going to be absolutely amazing with 140% gear range. It only fits on Super Boost Plus hubs. Check us out now on Kickstarter and make sure to tune into Shark Tank March 12th.
And now, back to the show.
Bar handles.
Bar handles, handlebars.
Handlebars.
Handlebars. Yeah, let's talk about them. What are you
Mustaches
running? What's on your handlebar?
Oh, for our bikes. Yeah, let's talk about bikes.
Yeah.
What bars are you running right now, Liam? Oh, you can't say, huh?
Can I talk about them?
Some top secret bars we can't tell you about yet. But
They're both carbon.
Top secret.
They both have 5 degree up, 8 degree back sweeps. Both 35 mil clamps. On my downcountry bike, I have a 15 mil rise bar, and on my trail bike enduro bike, I have a 35 mil rise bar.
Wow.
What about you, J-Rad?
I am running the 1-Up carbon bar on my Yeti SB150.
Yep.
And I love that bar. And I'm running the stock Yeti carbon bar on my other bike. It's nice. 20 mil rise, 780. I think 770 on my SB150 because I cut it a little bit too much on accident. And then 780 on the 115. Pro tip, do not cut your bars too narrow because you cannot make them wider afterwards.
Didn't you take high school woodshop where they teach you like measure twice, cut once?
Yes. What they don't teach you is don't be stupid, because that's what I was.
Yeah, I guess on my bars I run 750 width on all my bikes.
Nice.
Across the board.
Yeah, I do 760.
750 or 760? I'm confused now. Jared got me confused.
Forgot your own handlebar width? That's like forgetting your shoe size.
I cut them once, dude, and I run it.
But do you measure twice, then cut once?
I know where I'm cutting,
Jared.
Yes. Yeah.
A lot of times it literally says it right on the bar now.
I know. I probably just closed my eyes when I did it, honestly. It just
Too many brewskis before the handlebar cutting.
I cut a couple bars here and there, so. Yeah.
Will you do mine next?
Yeah, I am also riding the 1-Up bars. I like this. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any crazy preference, but I do like 1-Up's whole unique thing with the vertical compliance and lateral stiffness. Whew. You know how I know that?
Because you did the video.
I did an entire video about handlebars.
And you tested like 5 different handlebars right on one bike.
Yeah, I know I've said this, and I said in the video too, but this is still one of the things that blew me away these days. I mean, I test a lot of stuff, right? We all do. And a lot of times it's like, I can't really tell. I mean, like I can kind of tell a difference. It's like a little bit of a difference. It's like, it's negligible. Like novice riders might not. But, and I thought this handlebar thing was going to be like that. I was like, all right, we're going to go out here and we're going to have the same bike on the same trail, everything the same, but we're going to swap it. I'm going to ride 5 different handlebars in like one stint. and I was like, there's no way I was like, these are all going to be the same. Like, I'm going to be like fighting to the back scars of my head to be like, what was the difference between this bar and that bar? But it wasn't. I was shocked. So they all had a different feel. And the 1-Up bars were way more supple. I mean, that's what they say they do. Yeah. And it was actually true. And I was just impressed. Wow. But then in like the rental bars, those things felt like a steel pipe. They were the most rigid things ever.
Super stiff.
Yeah. But it wasn't bad, you know, in a set, like I actually prefer climbing with the rental bars. Like you have better power transfer. Because like if you're out of the saddle climbing, because where I'd ridden that day too was like that technical climb. It's like out of the saddle climb. When you're like pushing with your leg and pulling with your hand, like you don't want your bars to flex at all, right? So like on an XC bike, I would run rental bars, you know, and they just had a really stiff feel to them that I liked climbing. It felt like it was just more power transfer, but they just beat you up on the downhill. Like they're just way more rigid than some of the other stuff. And then sort of you had like the bars in between, which you trusted like the Truvative Descendant, the Race Face Nexstar. Those were kind of like somewhere in the middle there where they like weren't overly stiff, but weren't like, weren't super supple like the 1-Up bars. And the 1-Up bars actually were just totally different. So ever since we made that video and I tested all those, I've been just riding the 1-Up bars ever since. But again, it's not this like major change, right? And it's something that if you didn't do that back-to-back test on the same trail, same bike, same everything, like you would never notice.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
If you have hand fatigue or like hand pain, then those 1-Up bars do make sense. Or you're riding a lot of braking bumps. I don't know. So yeah, but I've ridden 8 degrees back, 5 up, 8 and 5, 760 width on all my bikes for forever. Yeah.
Wow.
You don't stick the same width on all your bikes?
I normally do.
Yeah.
I just never really like felt like going around cutting the bars on the 115. I was just like, whatever, I'll just leave them. They're close enough. 5 mils on each side. What am I really gonna?
My thing was like, if I had one bike, so if I had my trail bike that had say 760s and then I put 780 on my downhill bike, I would get on the downhill bike and I'd be like, oh, these feel really wide, which is kind of nice, right? Like you're on a downhill bike, you want it to feel like that. But then I would ride the downhill bike at a bike park. I'd go back to my trail bike and I'd be like, oh, this feels horrible. Like I would just feel like they were too narrow and like I was going to, it was just, I couldn't take the change. Like the change was too jarring to my OCD. So,
even 10 mils, you think you could notice 10 mils of a difference?
Of width?
5 on each side?
Absolutely.
What if I blindfolded you and I told you that one was each? What if I screwed with your head and made you do it?
That's our next blindfold video test.
If Jeff can tell the difference between 770 and 780.
I think I can tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing. If I test a stock bike.
Bars are like really tactile, especially the sweep. Did you change the... Remember those Easton bars that had like, it was like
an odd one.
8-degree back sweep or something? No, sorry. Something about it was like 2 degrees different than most bars. And it was just like, oh, this feels horrible.
I feel like that's another story. Like degree difference, it's like that. But but like hand placement, like if your hands are in a different place, like you could easily have your hands in a different spot at 5 mils. You wouldn't notice.
No way, dude.
I would.
What if you have different grips
on? Your palm is at the edge of the grip and your finger is right on the brake lever. It's all like
that's our next test. It's settled.
Well, I think that goes the same thing too. Is like I run the same grips on all my bikes,
right?
And the same bar width.
Yeah.
So I prefer that too.
Yeah, when was the last time you rode alloy bars, Jeff?
Oof.
I have some alloy bars on my gravel bike that I keep in our Pennsylvania store. What is that thing? Salsa Storm Chaser.
Yeah, Storm Chaser.
Yeah, I have alloy bars on that. I don't know. That also just has a rigid fork and like 40cc tires. So I haven't ridden alloy bars on like a normal mountain bike. Yeah. We should have tested those. Why didn't we do that?
Oh, I don't know.
Like we should have like thrown one alloy bar in that same back-to-back test. We have to redo this.
Hindsight's 2020.
Hindsight's 2020.
Up until I ran the newest carbon bars on my enduro bike, I was running alloy bars for probably at least 2 years.
Yeah, what'd you think in terms of like supple?
I kind of liked the way they feel better a bit.
Yeah,
alloy bars.
Alloy bars
really?
on the big bike.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They just felt a little different, a little bit. It's just different flex. It's like going from an alloy frame to a carbon frame.
Mm-hmm.
They both are good. You're both going to be fast and you're going to like ride your best on it, but they just feel different. I feel like that's how bars are too. Just frequency is a little bit different. Feedback's a little different. I don't think I really prefer one over the other, but there's a difference there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest thing too is the price and the weight.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So alloy bars are little less than half, typically little less than half the cost of any carbon bar. And they're much heavier. So, and so the reason we're talking about this, we recently did a handlebar buyer's guide video on YouTube and a big in-depth article on the topic to kind of demystify all of that, right? Like what are the various materials? What's the difference between them? The prices? What are the most common widths, rises, sweeps? We put all of that similar stuff in the video. And yeah, I would, my guess on the most common width for like general mountain bikers, 780. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. 780.
I think so too.
Yeah. Yeah. And then rise and sweep 8 and 5. I mean, almost every bar is like that. There's a few that aren't.
Yeah. Renfall's different. It's 7.
Yeah. It's like 1 degree off.
But it does feel different.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. 1 degree does make a difference. Yeah. But
and that could even be the difference between like your wrists hurting and not hurting.
Yeah. When I was racing XC, I ran, I think, a 9 or a 10 degree back sweep bar.
Whoa.
Just for those long days, it kind of put you more in a like, I don't want to say beach cruiser position, but like a more comfortable position.
More relaxed for your wrists.
Instead of like kind of moto-esque feel where the Renfalls feel very moto.
Yeah.
Ergonomic position.
Ergonomic, yeah. So when I was racing and spending way too many hours on a bike, I ran more back sweep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense versus like those like envy bars or flat bars that are just like a straight bar and you're like this, and your elbows are out and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Different feel there.
Yeah.
Well, cool. That's handlebars. Hopefully we educated you a lot on handlebars.
And now, a word from our sponsors. Looking for the best chain lube in the universe? Look no further than my very own Charlie's Chain Treatment for 13-speed gearbox drivetrains only. My lube will leave your chain better than new and will leave competitors in the dust. Lather on and have the riding experience of a lifetime. And now, back to the show.
Let's talk about the next topic, the Commencal Care Program. So to preface that, Commencal is a consumer direct mountain bike brand from Andorra. They've been around a long time. I think everyone knows who Commencal is. But when I say consumer direct, what that means is that they sell right off of their website directly to you, the consumer, which means a bike shop doesn't sell it. This, if you want to learn more about the historical model of bike brands, bike shops as retailers, consumer direct, we made a whole video called Consumer Direct Bike Brands. Are they destroying or evolving the industry? A lot of people were surprised at our take on that because I think it's kind of good, you know, especially for the higher end segment, which a lot of people would probably not say that if they owned a bike shop like I do, but I think it's good. Like, I was just honest about that in the video. That's what we like to do. And yeah, so watch that video if you're curious more on like the particular business model behind the thing. But what's important here is one of the main issues, which was discussed in that video, is warranties and service, right? So if you buy a bike directly from a brand like YT or Commencal or Canyon, and then you have something that needs a warranty or some particular part that broke, right? Like what would break on one of these
even
things?
Building it out of the box.
That's true. Something could be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you don't have a bike shop to support you, right? Because you didn't buy it there, right? And the whole value of a retailer is you can just walk right back there or drive right back there or call them up and figure it out. But it's harder for these consumer direct bike brands to deal with that. And they got a bad rap. I think probably Canyon got the worst rap. I don't know if they fixed it, but they had a bad rap for like, they would sell you a bike, something would go wrong with it. And, you know, like it would just be using a warranty issue. Something was like a warranty issue, some component on there, and then they would just like ghost you.
Yeah. That's a nightmare situation.
It's a bad situation. Yeah. Especially if you just spent $5,000 or $10,000 on a bike.
That'd be super frustrating.
So I think most of these brands have fixed that problem, but it's hard to tell, you know? But I do remember for a long time there, every time one of these brands would pop up on Pink Bike, people would just rip them for their like terrible support.
And the hard part too is, well, Canyon and Commencal were not USA based, and YT. YT is German as well. None of them are.
They're
so
all European.
when they were first coming here, they're coming here on a very, what do you call it, subsidiary based location.
Yeah, exactly.
With not a lot of
their
resources.
headquarters isn't here. Yeah.
So that also led to it, and then obviously people who have bad experiences are gonna talk more. So it makes it kind of worse.
Yeah. The 1-star review is always they're
going to be the loudest
person.
Yeah.
That's very loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that did happen.
So what's Commencal doing to help that?
The Care Program. Tell us what it is, Liam.
So yeah, it seems like Commencal is coming up with the Commencal Care, basically tech questions, settings after unpackaging, maintenance tips, and warranty. Pretty much, if you call Commencal and they cannot help you by walking it through it, I think they FaceTime. They might FaceTime you and try to help you with a tip or a setup. And so if they cannot help you there, or you don't have the technical skills or tools required, Commencal will basically help you find a local shop that, I don't know if it's approved or just a shop of your choice, to take your bike to, and Commencal will help cover the cost of the repair. So basically, they're offering to support you taking it to a local shop.
Yeah, I mean, how well that works, I guess, is yet to be seen from Commencal bike owners. But it is a good idea because I've been in the bike industry for a long time. Before I started Worldwide, which was over 10 years ago, I worked at just a traditional brick and mortar local bike shop. I mean, Liam, you worked at a traditional brick and mortar bike shop for a long time. Yeah, and these consumer direct brands have a really bad rap because people get pissed. You know, like typical bike shop owners and bike shop staff do not like when you roll your consumer direct bike brand in there that they didn't make any money off of, and they're like, "Oh, I got this warranty problem." It's like, I don't want to help you with that.
YouTube video idea: should we buy a consumer direct bike and then bring it to 5 local shops?
And
see how we get treated.
Yes, you
get 5 different answers probably.
Yeah. Some, like hidden cameras on our glasses or something.
Yeah, see if because it kind of is, and I think it's changing, but I think there's kind of that bike shop snob mentality, and you kind of got a bad feel right away when you brought in this consumer direct bike brand.
Right. Yeah. Like this guy probably slapped it together, has no idea what he's doing, and then we're just gonna pretty much rebuild this whole bike.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
Yeah, that's part of it. I think the other part was like the warranty issue, right? So warranties in general for some component, like any shop that's dealing with that's losing their losing their ass on it to some extent, right? So like if any shop sells a bike and let's just say the rear shock, like something's wrong with it, seals are bad, whatever, warranty issue starts leaking, customer brings it back, like they can't charge the customer for that. The brand that made the rear shock is certainly not going to reimburse them for any of this. So now they have to, out of their own pocket, you know, house the bike, take the shock off, talk to the brand, ship it back to the brand, get it back from the brand, put it back on the bike, call the customer. Like, who's paying for that? The shop is, right? So it's a hassle. It's a headache, and it's the risk you take when you sell the bike to begin with. Yeah. And you hope that you don't have warranty issues with it. Now, if someone waltzes in with a consumer direct bike, you didn't make any money off that to begin with, right? So you kind of feel as a business owner like, well, I'm going to do this warranty for free now. You know, like I didn't sell you that bike. And that's where, and then the person's like, well, what the heck? Like, but you carry RockShox or Fox or DVO or whatever this rear shock is that has a problem. And then they're like, well, so what? Like, you know, we could contact them for you, but like, and it's just this awkward, like, well, you're going to pay us because it's a warranty. Like, we're not going to work for free. We didn't make any money when we sold you that. It's this very uncomfortable, like, business model clash of a situation. And that's what Commencal's trying to address, it seems like. You know, then they're going to be like, oh, well, we'll actually just, you know, pay that bike shop to help you with that. So,
and in everyone's defense, is kind of everyone's in the right almost, right?
As a consumer, no one's doing anything wrong.
As a consumer, your product's broken, you're bummed. As a bike shop owner, employee, you're like, well, I didn't make any money off this, so I don't want to really help, you know? So yeah, it's cool to see Commencal come up with a solution. And actually on their site, to add to that, it looks like there's 2 different kind of FAQs to run through. One for your Commencal products, so mainly would be frame. And then your third-party brands, so suspension, wheels, etc.
Drivetrain.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I like it. I mean, I think it's a good deal because I can see it's just trying to solve an issue with what's going on with all that. So
yeah, totally. I mean, it's like, you know, when we sell a bike, obviously we offer lifetime tunes, right? I mean, this is basically their version of that. It's like we're helping out the consumer with some of the associated costs with maintenance and repair. Yeah,
and I guess it'll be interesting to see if it's legit.
Yeah, right. Or how long it'll take for people to get their money back,
you know,
right?
Like I would imagine they're gonna do it well.
If I was outside of the industry, I'd probably be on a Commencal bike, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Like if you didn't work at a shop.
Yeah, if I didn't work at a shop, had no allegiance or tie to any shop or brand, Commencal's a great brand with great value.
Yeah, they don't even make carbon bikes.
Crazy.
Call me crazy, but I don't know if you need.
You're crazy, bro.
I don't know if you need carbon 170 mil travel bikes.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely are very cool bikes. Like, you know, there's definitely a lot to that.
Yeah,
great value.
I would, if I was outside of the industry, I would still buy from a local shop just because I don't want to do any of my own maintenance. Like, I'd want to be able to just buy it, go and ride it, and take it in and just be like, yeah, can you guys just like worry about all this? Like, just take care of all of it. But that really depends on where you're at. If you want to do your own maintenance, what your budget is, all of that. I would get a consumer direct bike brand and I would use VeloFix if there was one in my area.
But if you weren't in the industry, maybe you would be more inclined to work on your own bike too. You know?
If I had the same free time availability that I have now, no. The answer is no. I'm not working on my own bike.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, it depends on what you do for a career and how busy your calendar is on a daily basis.
Right.
So I don't know. We could talk about that forever.
And now here's a quick clip of me with Micah Rice, the race director of the Pikes Peak Apex out in Colorado Springs. We talked about the current state of mountain bike racing given the pandemic and some quick tips on how to start a mountain bike race event yourself in your own local community. Okay, great. Micah, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. We really appreciate you coming on board. Just wanted to ask you a couple things, you know, with your racing expertise. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your, your experience with racing, you know, given the pandemic and like the state of everything going on right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's been all over the board, right? I mean, we really saw just over a year ago, everything kind of shut down. But we definitely seem to be coming out of it now. There were some very select events that happened last year. We kind of got through it. A lot of virtual events. I think people really kind of got on board with that. and kind of rallied around it in that direction now. But even just in the last few weeks, you've just seen everybody just come out full steam, getting ready for the summer, and a lot of events kind of announcing that it's all on, and it's been great.
That's so awesome. That's a huge relief. Like, it was such a pain during the pandemic, like all these events like Sea Otter getting canceled and all these big events. And, it's just really nice to see they're all kind of starting back up again. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah. And I think the virtual events kind of got people through the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a big proponent of in-person, racing events where you're actually racing people head to head.
Yeah.
And I think that people got through that and were excited about that for only so long. And I think people are really itching to get back on their bikes to in-person events now. So
Totally.
It's good to see. A lot of events filling up and people getting excited about this summer.
Awesome. Well, tell me a little bit about like what it would take, if I wanted to put on a race here in my local area.
Yeah, and I work for an organization called Sports Strategies, and essentially what we do is we go into these different communities and make recommendations on how to kind of leverage, some assets that you might have to create an event. So a trail system or a waterway or some great roads for a Grand Fondo. And so, we do a good bit of that. We work directly with the cities. Definitely try to leverage your Convention and Visitors Bureau, because they often have all kinds of programs, even money set aside to bring people into town. So those are the people to talk to and kind of start with.
Mm-hmm.
Economic development within those cities. Everyone's looking for ways to not only create direct economic impact to their cities, whether that be through hotel rooms sold or restaurants, but also how do you just raise the value of living in that city? So kind of those aspects are interesting ways to kind of come about it within your city itself, because that starts, pulling levers on real decision makers there.
Right. Awesome. Those are some good tips. Absolutely. Well, tell me a little bit more about the Apex and what you have going on with the Apex out there in Colorado Springs as well.
Yeah, the Pikes Peak Apex here in Colorado Springs is an event that we built from scratch. First year was 2020, which was a pretty tough year to actually have to put in.
Right.
We pulled it off. We had a ton of support from the city. So it was the end of September of 2020. It is a 4-day mountain bike challenge on the slopes of Pikes Peak. A presenting sponsor is RockShox, and as you guys probably know, the RockShox R&D facility is right here in Colorado Springs.
Right.
So they're testing bikes on and shocks, and forks and everything else right here on the trails that we're racing on.
Wow.
But it's essentially it's a 4-day event. We start off with a short prologue that's about an hour effort, and then on Friday and Saturday we do 2 big loops, so 40 to 50 mile loops that are really get out there up onto the slopes up near and over in at least one case over 10,000 feet. One of the biggest hits was last year coming down through Jones Park and Captain Jack's trails. That's kind of one of the big deal trails here, where at the end of the stage there was literally a 30-minute downhill
Wow.
to the finish, which you don't see in cross-country events and endurance events too often, is that distance on the downhill. But
Totally.
people kind of loving that. And then the last day is kind of more of like a 20-ish mile thing that's over by noon, and then we can drink beer and head on home after. So,
nice.
Last year it was just really strictly a bike race itself, just because of the pandemic. We really had to kind of strip it down just to a basic race.
Mm-hmm.
But this year we're really looking forward to doing a lot more. We've got a kickoff party planned and a post-event party planned, and an expo and other events going on. So we're excited about turning this bike race into a real event here in Colorado Springs. And that's an event that we built for the Pikes Peak Outdoor Recreation Alliance. So This is actually a non-profit event.
Wow.
And all that money that we raise just goes directly back into the trail system through the Trail Stewardship Fund. So we work with local groups like our IMBA chapter and things like that to to maintain and build new trails and use this event kind of to shine a spotlight on the trails here. So yeah, we're excited about bringing it back. It'll be something that'll happen for a long time.
That's awesome. I mean, it sounds like a ton of fun, and honestly, I wish I could make it out there for the race. Like, I would love to, but it's awesome. Yeah, I know. I know, absolutely.
It'll be a good time, and we tried to create an event that was interesting to a lot of different people. It's got some technical aspects to it, which is going to make mountain bikers happy.
Mm-hmm.
And for the pros, we have a $25,000 prize purse. It's split evenly between men and women for the 4 days.
Awesome.
But then we do some things that are more akin to the gravel community. So we do a big mass start. Like, everyone starts together.
Mm-hmm.
Women, kids, masters, it doesn't matter. Everyone rolls out at the same time. We do, we've got at least one day that's probably 80% dirt road.
Wow.
There are definitely some single track involved in that day too, but a lot of wide open gravel climbing that's kind of enjoyable. Get some great views up there in the Front Range of Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And then the prologue that we do is an in-town park. It's right here in downtown Colorado Springs. It's an 11-mile loop in a park that's right here. They shut down the park for us, close it off, and it's a pretty technical single track loop that we do. We do time trial style. We actually send each rider off every 30 seconds. We kind of racing and trying to catch the person in front of you.
Nice.
So it's really kind of an interesting format that has been really well received, I think, by the cycling.
That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like a ton of fun, and with the money just going right back into the community and the trails, I mean, it sounds like a great cause as well.
Yeah, no, it's a fun time, and we got a lot of people from all over the U.S. join us last year. We expect that we'll have more this year as well, and it's not crazy altitude. Colorado Springs is about 6,000 feet, but we do have, as I said, a couple of days where you climb up there in the 9 to 10,000.
Right.
But it's always a good time. People are really having a good time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Micah, thank you so much for joining me today and giving us an idea of what racing is like, and what the Apex is like, and for some tips to put on a local race. And yeah, we really appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jared. Hopefully you can make it on out to Colorado Springs this September.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you so much again. And we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Take care. You have a good one.
Here we go with some listener questions around mixing drivetrain brand components and bike geometry for former BMX riders.
That was great.
That was not... Neither of those were audio effects. Those were just the real voices of Jared and Liam. And if you didn't understand what he said, it was that this last segment is listener questions around mixing drivetrain brand components and bike geo for former BMX riders. First question, Ole Tobias? Ole?
I thought it was like, my name's Old Tobias.
Old Tobias?
That's how
His name is spelled O-L-E.
He's from Norway.
Oh, it's Ole. That's probably Ole.
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 I don't know. Sorry. None of us are cultured enough to know how to pronounce
Mr.
O-L-E.
Tobias.
Sorry, Mr. Tobias. He says, hi, I love the podcast. Question, have any of you ridden a mixed drivetrain of Shimano cassette and chain with SRAM GX Access derailleur and shifter? Thoughts? Greetings from Norway. Well, the reason we picked this question, because a lot of people ask it, and also, I don't think anyone's here in agreement on this, which is drama. Drama.
Drama in the podcast triangle.
All right, so my answer is no, I've not done that, and I would never do that. That's just ridiculous. That's just, no. Like, I'm not going to do that. And let me hear my case.
You're a purist.
I'm a purist. No, I am a purist. No, it just pains my soul to see like mixed brands like that. It just seems like something's wrong. Like I just don't like it. It bothers me emotionally from that sense, and from like a logical sense. In 2020, actually, I went to Germany, February, right before the world shut down. February of 2020, I went to Germany to SRAM's drivetrain manufacturing and design facility, which was an awesome trip. And I got to see stuff that the common man may have never seen. And I saw things such as, I think there was about 20 of these glass boxes that had drivetrains inside of them. And all of these lasers pointed at the drivetrain. And so when I say drivetrain, it's like cranks, chain, derailleur, shifter. It's all inside of this glass box. All these lasers are pointed at it. And it's just like pedaling really fast and shifting through all the gears. And there's all these lasers and cameras. And there's like 20 of these things. The amount of engineering that SRAM puts into every aspect of like how all that stuff meshes together is literally mind-blowing. It's astonishing. And I'm sure Shimano has the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
And being there, seeing the development process, talking to the real engineers in Germany who making this stuff, like blew my mind about the intricacy and the detail they put into all this stuff. So it was astonishing, like what they're doing to like design every like 10th, 100th of a millimeter of every little like, you know, pivot thing on the cassette, the chain. It's just wild. So I just think it all should go together.
Yeah. So your point is it's designed to go together, keep it together. It's
designed and engineered in every way, shape, and form to be paced all together as like a whole unit. So like if you have a SRAM, you know, and this, I guess we're talking things that touch each other in like the chain ring, the chain, the cassette, right? The derailleur, like all that's, and then the shifter, obviously, right? Because it controls the derailleur. So like all those things that are interconnected like that. Like obviously you can swap a crank out and it doesn't matter. But yeah, so that's my opinion. I would never do that. I don't see what the reason to do that is. I just think this stuff's all engineered to go together. So that's my thought. Liam?
I have kind of two parts to this. I personally would never set out to mix match like Jeff. I would never set out to do it. Mm-hmm. But if I was in a situation where, say, I had a, you know, SLX or XT Shimano drivetrain, 12-speed, and I was like, well, I kind of want wireless, but I don't really want to like change all my components. That's really expensive. Free hub bodies get involved. It gets complicated. Well, what if I could just buy a shift and derailleur upgrade kit and then run that? And now I have a wireless drivetrain with my Shimano stuff. Most cost-effective route. Maybe I would do that. Just from a pure consumer cost-effective
And I think that's
standpoint.
why people ask that question.
Yeah.
Because they have like free hub body issues and they already have a Shimano cassette and free hub body. And like,
exactly. And I think that's where Mr. Ole is coming from, is he wants to upgrade to GX axis. So in that sense, it could make sense. Does it work? We have a rider, Troyden, that makes questionable bike decisions all the time and is completely in his head about most of them.
Yeah, he's a bit of a head case, but he's a really talented, phenomenal mountain biker.
Yeah,
so
super fast.
There's that. And
he has been running XT or XTR chain and cassette with SRAM axis, XO or XX1 shifter and derailleur for better part of a year now.
like, why did he even do that?
I think it was the same type of thing. He
liked this.
He bought a complete e-bike. No, he bought a complete e-bike that came with Shimano, and it was like a pain for free hub bodies to swap stuff out. And he had access, or he wanted access, and he kind of just ended up with that. But he personally says, which again is
take with a grain of salt.
Yeah, grain of salt. It's Troyden's thoughts and what he thinks is better. He still runs 2.3 tires, so that's that on his downhill bike. With all the love from Troyden, but he says it shifts really good and he likes it better.
Yeah.
So maybe
it probably does.
Maybe there's something
like,
to it.
I don't see why it wouldn't. They
Probably
are
does.
pretty similar, realistically. If you look at these things, like there's not any major differences.
Maybe
like,
there's something to it. Maybe he's onto something. I would never personally set out to do it, but if you're in a situation, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, someone should make like a cross compatibility chart.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to do that. Do
No,
you?
no, not me.
Because people do ask. They're in that same boat, and they want to know what the cross compatibility actually is between these things. But man, to like, no one's going to do that. Neither the brands are going to do that. That's for sure.
No. Guinea pigs. We could be the guinea pigs.
We could. It could be an interesting.
Yeah.
It might be useful.
It could be.
Maybe we should do that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's our next viral YouTube video, bro.
Could be.
Do you have any thoughts, Jared?
What are
your thoughts?
I side with you, Liam, where I'm not gonna, if I have a Shimano drivetrain on my bike, I'm not gonna, you know, especially if I'm cost conscious, I'm not gonna just like completely ditch a bunch of new stuff just so I can upgrade. You know, maybe if I'm at the point where like it's worn down and I was gonna replace it anyways, then I'd switch over. But yeah, I'm not gonna like actively go out and put a Shimano cassette and like drivetrain and then have, you know, axis, shifter, and, you know, and derailleur. I'm just gonna go probably all of one or the other. But yeah, if I got a new bike and it has like XT, XTR, whatever on it, then yeah, hell yeah, I'll upgrade and put electronic shifting on there, because you're not gonna put DI2.
Well, they don't.
What is DI2?
Excuse me, what is DI2? So it's like intelligence.
That was a joke.
Yeah.
Just because like no one knows what DI2 is.
Shimano does not.
Shimano
Shimano does not make a electronic 12-speed mountain bike drivetrain.
Right.
So
They make an 11-speed one, though.
they make an 11-speed, which
And you can have all these cables inside your frame and batteries and junction boxes, and it's great.
Oh, that sounds dope. I'll have that.
Yeah.
check out our previous podcast for Shimano patents on electric drivetrain suspension and dropper posts.
Yeah. Shimano for sure. I mean, if you're going to buy an electronic drivetrain, there's no way on earth you would buy a Shimano one over a SRAM one right now.
Yeah.
In
But
the
who
mount-
knows?
In the mountain bike world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roadies are another story. Those guys are
Yeah,
traditionalists to the core.
That's strange.
Yeah.
That's strange. I don't even know anything about those people.
And that's for a whole nother podcast.
Those people.
Those people.
That's how we refer to people who ride road bikes around here. Those people.
Who are you talking about? Those people.
Oh, man. All right. Well, yeah, there you go. Ole Tobias. Hopefully
Ole.
it's probably Ole. We're saying Ole
Probably.
because we're all from Southern California and we all have some bit of Spanish knowledge. So we're thinking
Yeah.
it's Ole.
It's probably Ole.
It's probably
Yeah,
Ole.
that's what I said. Norway, Ole
Yeah.
Tobias. And it's probably not in Tobias. It's probably like
Tobias.
Tobis. Old Tobis.
Mr.
Dude,
Tobis,
I
we're
really hope
very sorry
can
for
someone,
butchering your name.
Jared, remember to email him back and tell him we answered it, so he can like he's probably gonna pee his pants laughing at this whole like name pronunciation.
Send
segment.
us a voice message over the Mountain Bike Podcast Instagram.
Yeah.
That's how you pronounce your name, please.
Yeah.
Perfect. Or even a video one. We'd love to see your face.
Yeah.
And how we just totally ruined
Next question.
Next question.
Jared, read that one.
Mike Finch. Is there a geometry that former BMX riders prefer with mountain bikes, including handlebar rise? Liam, you are a former BMX rider. What do you think?
I think it depends on what type of riding you want to do on a mountain bike, first and foremost. If you're a BMX rider that's looking to go to mountain bike to basically do similar types of riding, bike park, jumps, kind of free riding aspects, you're probably going to want to go with, like talking modern mountain bike sizing, probably go a little bit smaller of a bike, where if the height chart recommends you on a large, maybe ride a medium. You'll probably feel more comfortable with a higher rise bar. And
Short stem.
Short stem, yeah, really short stubby stem. And you'll probably feel more comfortable with like 15 to 20% sag in your rear end than 30 recommended.
Yeah.
Something like that. A little stiffer, a little taller, a little shorter bike that's going to mimic more of a BMX.
Maybe 27.5.
Probably, yeah. Could be 27.5 wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we look at Raymond, social media guru here, he's very similar, but he rode BMX longer into his, where he's at now than I did. I kind of jumped off and did other.
Not many people ride BMX past the age of 20 because it's just so hard on your body.
Yeah, exactly.
Freestyle BMX,
Yeah,
at least.
I ride a dirt jumper now. I can't ride a BMX bike. It's too big of a difference from 20-inch wheel to 2.9 wheel.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, but Raymond's bikes are very much like this. He sizes down, short stem, 50 mil rise bars.
Like a 32 mil stem,
32
mil,
35 mil stem.
and then a 50 millimeter rise bar.
Yeah, and his suspension's always incredibly stiff.
Yeah, way stiffer than you would actually want to set it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Geo-wise, probably a bike that's a touch steeper head tube angle. If you're looking to ride like that. Now, if you're just looking...
I think the only thing that makes a meaningful difference to someone who came from BMX is the chainstay length.
That's true, yeah.
Because I don't think they notice the head angle as much because it's just so like the machine is so different. Like head angle and BB height and like reach, like you don't even. I mean, you want the reach to be smaller because you're used to that, so you size down on the frame like you said. And then chainstay length, Like that's going to determine how easily you can lift that front wheel off the ground and bunny hop that thing and manual and wheelie, whatever. That's what BMX riders do, right?
Yeah.
Like they're just more, they're playing with the bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, like when that, you say that comes to mind, it's like Evil bikes. Their bikes still are like 430, 432 chainstays, where most 29ers now, especially modern, because the front end's growing, so the rear end has to grow to compensate. I'm even close to like 440, 445 for some of those new modern, like aggressive race bikes, where Evil's still in that 430 number. So
yeah, different brands have like different ideologies, right? I mean, I think years ago we were making those YouTube videos comparing like Yetis to Evils, and kind of takeaway from those videos was like, well, Yeti's slogan is what, race built, race bred or something?
Race bred since 85.
Yeah, so like Yeti's like building their bikes for racers because they want them to go really fast in race situations, and like Evil's building their bikes for a different situation.
Yeah,
for
having fun.
Just pedaling up a fire road and then just slashing corners and doing stoppies and cutties and whatever. So yeah, so you'll probably gravitate more towards one brand than the other when it comes to some geo things.
It's true.
But a lot of it's like chainstay length, I think, and sizing down and the various mods you said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, did you ever ride BMX bikes, Jared?
Back in the day, I mean, I think I probably stopped when I tried to start doing bar spins and I started eating shit.
Yeah.
I rode a little bit of BMX, but not enough to where like I could call myself like an ex-BMXer like Raymond or Liam or whatever.
You rode moto more so, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a little more moto, and yeah, I definitely like, bring my BMX bike just like, mess around in the desert or whatever. But yeah, definitely like it was not good enough. Like, we would just mess around, like build jumps here and there. Like before dirt jumping was a thing, right? Like we just rode our BMX on dirt jumps.
Yeah.
And actually Raymond's still an incredible BMXer when he does ride. He just landed a backflip last week.
Nice.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yeah, I'm a little rusty. I'm like, yeah, well, dude, you're doing backflips. Come on. Like, no, you shred. Come on. Let's be real.
Oh man, that sounds dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you could probably do one too. Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Backflips. That's risky.
You may get Jeff out to the local jump park on his BMX bike or dirt jump bike.
I can't ride a BMX bike anymore.
Dirt jump bike.
We went to the skate park like 2 years ago. When did we go? 2 years ago.
We have a sweet local dirt jump park, Sapui.
I've never even been.
And you have a sweet dirt jump bike.
We did go to the skate park down the street.
Yeah.
You and I, remember?
Yeah, we did.
And Raymond.
Yeah,
we all went.
The Wendy one or Reno? Yeah, Borchard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
It's a sad excuse for a skate park, but it's something.
Yeah, there you go.
Still fun.
Yeah, you got a sweet dirt jumper. You should,
I know. I don't ride that bike enough, but I do like it. I mean, the problem with dirt jumpers, if you build a nice one, no one's going to buy it from you for like even any remotely a reasonable value. So I'm just going to probably keep that thing until I'm in the grave.
Yeah.
So I like that bike.
It's smart.
Yeah. I'll ride that at some point. I don't know when, but I've been saying that for a while.
Eventually, it's sweet.
Yeah, maybe in the winter.
Yeah.
I'll ride it in the winter.
There you go. Long enough for everybody will forget about that promise.
Totally. Well, Mike Finch, hopefully that helped you out and made sense. And yeah, there you go. If you're a former BMXer, there are some tips on that. And other than that, that's it. That's all for episode, what was this, 83?
83.
Of the MTB podcast. I would like to thank Pedals and Pints, a local brewery and restaurant here in Thousand Oaks, California, because I drank just one throughout the episode of this podcast, one of their Knight Rider Baltic porters, and I feel pretty drunk. Like I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting a little like it's 8%. It's not that much, but it's more.
Yeah.
It's more than Coors Light.
Yeah, there you go. It's more than Coors Light.
It is a tall can
delicious.
too.
Yeah,
in Jeff's defense for listeners, it's a tall can.
Yeah,
it's 8% beer.
Yeah, 16 ounces.
16
okay,
ounces.
16 ounces.
I'll give you a ride home.
If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it. We do post these videos to the MTB Podcast YouTube channel as well, if you want to actually see our faces. Or just prefer to consume your podcasts through the YouTube platform, you can do that. Otherwise, please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Jared's laughing because I said that last time. I stole that exact phrase from the Wall Street Journal podcast I listen to every morning.
And every other podcast.
Every morning.
Okay. Yeah.
Do they have a new one every day?
Dude, the Wall Street Journal does a podcast, AM and PM edition, every day.
Wow.
Except for Saturday and Sunday.
And
national holidays.
Wow. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, I guess, on Wall Street.
They do like political news and just general world news and what is this, an advertisement?
Yeah,
we're Wall Street Journal podcast.
Let's wrap it up.
We were not paid. Thank you for listening.
Thank you
See
for
you next
listening,
time.
everybody.
I drank too much of this Knight Rider Baltic Porter.
Go out and ride your bike. We love you.
I love you. Goodbye.
We love you.